Our next distinguished speaker is Mr. Murad Kosi of Zakat Foundation of America. Mr. Kosi is the East Coast Program Director of Zakat Foundation. That is an organization that fosters charitable giving to alleviate the immediate needs of poor communities and to establish long-term development projects that ensure individual and community growth. Please welcome Mr. Murad Kosi to provide his views on Rohingya issue.
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Is there the author in our audience, someone who wrote a book or writing or is planning to write a book? You can raise your voice and in the hand. It's nice, inshallah. And then people from Chicago, who are from Chicago? Okay, that's good. Then I was saying is that I'm going to make everybody instantly author right now, inshallah. And then you are going to be surprised. You know, in Islam, we believe that whatever we do is recorded. Who recorded? The angels, right? But what angels record? Angel does not write from its own mind. Basically, angels record our book. We are the writer of our books. So right now, when I am talking here, I am writing my book. And my previous talkers, future talkers, when they are doing, they are writing their books. By coming here, you are writing your book. Alhamdulillah, I think you are writing a nice book today because you are here to help the Rohingya, one of the most persecuted people in the world. So I'm so glad that you are here, that just to support the Rohingya. Zakat Foundation is a tool. It's a tool. Like the microphone. Let's say, if I speak here, you cannot see me much. But if I speak here, you hear me because of the tool of the microphone. So to make our life easier to do in this life, Zakat Foundation is just like that, just a tool to help the poor and needy around the world. So how we have done, for the Rohingya, I have a personal side and then the organization side of the work, or the humanitarian aspect. One of my dear teachers, when I was studying Aikido, upstate New York, my teacher is from the Burma. I mean, I love him very much. And not only he was a regular Aikido teacher, he was a spiritual teacher as well. As the brother was saying that, that he became a Muslim because of the work of some Rohingya brothers. It's just, I feel like most of the Rohingyas is just, there's something in them that you felt some spirituality in it. And then, so the brother Makar is here. I didn't meet a lot of people, just very few people. You don't meet like you meet lots of people, Pakistanis and Bangladeshis, but Rohingya, just I can count how many people we met. But Alhamdulillah, today is the largest number of Rohingya I have seen. Right here. Just I'm glad that you are here. The number of people whom we are knowing that Rohingya is nice, it's a very good experience. But in practice, as an organization, and the Zakat Foundation has been as a tool that is trying to help the poor and needy, including Rohingya, for many years. But more specifically, I would say, in 2012, as the speakers mentioned, that there was all pictures and coming out and in the media, and horrible pictures, and what should we do? And then me more said was more like I don't like to see that what's happening outside, what I can do. Because I'm writing my book, what I can do. At the same time, I also advise what you can do. Let's write a book together. So I'm writing, because when you die, the God is going to ask you what you have done. Just give us our book. So what we have done. At that time, 2012, thanks to Dr. Wakar and then Amnesty International, because the work of Rohingya, that this goes two aspects. One is advocacy, so other one is the humanitarian. So advocacy aspect is that is needed, which the Zakat Foundation cannot do much about it. However, we need a partner to do. We had to partner together. At that time, we partnered with the Amnesty International. We told them, look, let's do something in Washington, D.C. We support you, and then you organize a rally in Myanmar embassy, which alhamdulillah we have done it. That was nice. Almost 100 people came, and everything counts. At that time, those who attended, their books are written, the angels recorded. And after that, we set up some small group of mostly professionals in Washington D.C. Every year we have a dinner for the Rohingya cause, and it has been going on. So this last one in Ramadan, every Ramadan we did, alhamdulillah. And then other organization that we partner with is the U.S. Campaign for Burma. The Simon, the good friend, you see, he lived in 30 years in Burma, and he's very passionate about it. And about Burma, he's trying to do it, I think, and then he is doing the Trans program, he knows him. And then I'm glad that I guess have more people that are passionate about it, and then this, as things are, look bad, there is a hope. Hope is more optimistic. Things are getting, it's much better, inshallah. Because like 3 years ago when we were talking about how many Rohingyas are there in the United States, they said maybe 50, 60 they were saying. But now, alhamdulillah, more. Now what I see is that I see young people, and then with the help of the people, they're going to do more work. One thing that I have noticed, because we work in 40 countries, one thing that it counts, if this Rohingya case is like another country's case, and then that would bring more voice. Because less more Rohingyas in the United States, it looks like a little bit orphan. We deal with the orphan, this issue has become like an orphan issue. When I say not in the real sense, it's just because not many people are really paying attention on those ones. But alhamdulillah, just as you say, we came here, you did a great job, and then come here, and then what you learn here, and then you just go outside and you multiply it. Allah will give barakah and blessings to do your coming here, and then inshallah, then things are going to get much better. I'm very optimistic about it. In terms of humanitarian aspect, what we have been doing, it's a challenging. That they tell that they don't want humanitarian organization to go help Rohingya people in Burma, especially. And then, but around the world, we are trying our best to do it. And then we have been doing the refugees in, let's say, India, Malaysia, in Thailand, and then in Bangladesh, and then inshallah in Chicago, in New York, USA as well. It's a challenging. I mean, we have done pretty much all of the places, whatever we can do. But those who do work, all we want is that let us help, because American Muslims are ready to help. Although not many people here are American Muslims, but when we reach out to them, they are very helpful because they help the people of the Bosnia, people of Kosovo, they are in Palestine, Syria, they have been helping very generous people. They are helping, I know that they are helping this cause as well. One thing is that this sometimes becomes limited because of the access. We try, we struggle, the challenge is the helping to the So, but we try our best. For Bangladesh, they tell how the Bangladesh government doesn't want Rohingya, and then Burma doesn't want the Rohingya. They are included in the refugee camps. Now we have an office in Bangladesh. Okay, we have an office and the current government doesn't like Rohingya much. The previous government was nicer in terms of humanitarian, that we have been doing the good job in the area. When the current government comes, it tells us, look, if you have Rohingya, I'm going to close you, kick you out. Because they kicked out of the Doctors Without Borders. And then we said, okay, we are not helping, that's fine. Officially, just keep us with the. But how we are helping, I'm just going to tell you this, is that we help through the people whom we trust, like the volunteers type of people, with whom we tested. Officially, and for example, Dr. Rafa, he doesn't have official relationship with the Rekat Foundation. Or there are some people that they don't have official relationship with it. But we trust them, we help them, the Rohingya as much as we can in that case. Even in the, not only the refugee camps, in some inside the Burma. At the same time, in terms of advocacy point, in the 2012, we advocated the Turkish government. I'm originally from Turkey. Turkish government was very helpful for the refugees and helping the all humanitarian causes. And then they even, Prime Minister at that time visited. Although they didn't give full access to the areas, but we had put some part inside it. And then still they are trying to do it. We are in contact with them, whatever they need. Even when the summer, when there was, the ship is stranded, and then we called them, what's going on? Why are you guys not doing anything? Just with everyone, they said, well, they are ready to send the ship, but they want to help the government like Indonesia or Malaysia, so they can do those for them. Committed to help you right here in Chicago, and then feel home Why we are comfortable, inshallah, with you and us, we have the people who we left over there. We are not going to forget them. First strengthening ourselves, and then we're going to help everybody over there, inshallah. And that's about it. I just want to mention here. Just I can go over and over and over. But those who want the help to the cause, those who are from Chicago, and raise your hand again. And those who are not Rohingya, can you raise your hands? Okay. I'm going to match, you know, that's one thing. Why we are helping, inshallah, we need your support to help these people. Together, we are going to do it together. So now, I want you to just, all of you, inshallah, Chicago people, okay, I know Chicago people are very generous people, and then they're going to help you. And then I'm very optimistic about it. With that one, inshallah, not only Chicago, also we are in contact with the Rohingya in Houston, as well as Atlanta. And inshallah, we're going to help other people there. But Chicago is going to, inshallah, nice for the Rohingya. And then together, we are going to help more people, inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murad Kosi of Zakat Foundation. And especially I want to thank Mr. Kosi for his initiative to work with the Rohingya community in Chicago. That I heard yesterday, I was updated by the community here, good initiative they took to advance the Rohingya community here in their education and all other aspects of their lives. So inshallah, we hope you will be very successful, and please thank Brother Murad for that. Last, not the least, our ambassador, a special U.S. envoy to OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Mr. Arslan Suleiman. He is a U.S. envoy to OIC. OIC means what? Everybody knows, right? Organization of Islamic Cooperation. They're the same organization. There's a 57-member state organization, OIC, is the backbone of Rohingya cause, alhamdulillah. OIC is the one who formed Arkan Rohingya Union in the Jeddah, in their headquarters, Saudi Arabia, to bring all Rohingya community together and make a one single voice on the Rohingya issue. Arkan Rohingya Union. So we are very pleased to work with OIC, with the State Department together on this Rohingya cause. I want to give you a little bio sketch, background of Mr. Arslan Suleiman. He works to deepen and expand the partnership between United States government and the OIC member countries that President Obama himself has announced in Cairo, Egypt in June of 2009 for engagement with OIC member countries. That is Brother Mr. Arslan Suleiman is instrumental in that initiative that President Obama has taken. He is currently working in a lot of areas in that respect, particularly in civil matters, education, health, science and technology, human rights, and many other areas. The United States government has engaged with 57-member country organization, which is for that matter, the second largest organization in the world after United Nations. And Brother Suleiman will give you his overview of what they have done on Rohingya issues from Washington, D.C., from the State Department. Please welcome Mr. Suleiman.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Brother Wafaruddin. Thank you to our guests, our Rohingya guests who are here and who are able to testify in person about the situation that's happening in Burma, Myanmar. And our guest as well, who was able to witness it there, and all of our distinguished panelist members who have been able to travel there, many of them themselves, and see this firsthand, and are doing really important grassroots mobilization effort to ensure that there is the relevant and necessary pressure from you all, from the communities, and from the governments to try to change the situation that's happening in Burma. Because as we all know, and as we've all heard, the situation is unacceptable. and it's a situation that has to change. And the United States government is recognizing that, and we're using all available bilateral and multilateral channels to exert that pressure. And so I'll just give you a brief overview, because I know that we are short on time, about some of those efforts and some of the efforts that we're working on with the OIC as well. Because, you know, in the world of diplomacy, there are oftentimes many situations in countries where there are human rights abuses. There are situations like the Rohingya are facing, where their rights are not respected, where they're facing violence and discrimination and ethnic cleansing. And the tools available to government sometimes don't necessarily lend themselves to an immediate solution or situation. But our jobs are to continue that pressure, to continue to use all available tools, and to ensure that all of the voices are collectively heard to put that pressure on. And so that's what we've been trying to do from our office, the OIC Special Envoy's office. But bilaterally from the United States, as many of our previous speakers have mentioned, Burma is undergoing a transition. For 60 years, they had a military dictatorship as their government, and starting in 2010, they began to change to enact some democratic reforms and democratic transition. And it's the United States policy to support that democratic transition. We want to see a Burma that is unified, that respects the human rights of all of its citizens, and that is a democracy, because we feel that democratic governments in the long term are the governments that are best suited to ensure that all of their people are respected, all of their rights are respected. And some of our panelists mentioned Sri Lanka and the links between different extremist groups who may be operating in Sri Lanka or Burma and other countries. And Sri Lanka itself has gone through a bit of a democratic renaissance, where earlier this year in January they had a historic presidential election where the reigning president, who had turned his country, which was emerging from a civil war, a successful civil war against a terrorist group, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. But after that victory, the country went in a very authoritarian direction. And the people of that country in January of this year decided that they don't want to see that authoritarianism, because part of that authoritarian move was the rise of extremist groups, was the rise of violence against Muslims in Sri Lanka, against Christians in Sri Lanka. And in January, they voted to reject that government, and they elected a new government, a government that promised to have a platform of inclusiveness, of human rights, of democracy. And they reaffirmed that commitment to it just last month when they elected a parliament, in the parliamentary elections, when they endorsed the platform of that reformist government. And we want to see the same outcome in Burma. Our panelists mentioned that there's an election coming up in November in Burma. We want to see an election that ensures that the political leaders in Burma are going to be working towards an inclusive country, a country where the rights of all individuals, including the Rohingya, are respected. And because in the long term, that's the best way to ensure that. And our government, our leaders, President Obama, has made it very clear. He's stated on his visits in 2012 and in 2015, he's mentioned the Rohingya specifically. During the White House iftar, he also mentioned the Rohingya specifically and recognized a Rohingya, a Burmese political prisoner who was there, Wei Wei Nu. And so at the top levels of our government, we are pushing the Burmese government to ensure that they are respecting the rights and that they are living up to their commitment to improve the living conditions and secure the full human rights and fundamental freedoms for all communities in Rakhine State, including the Rohingya. And in our bilateral engagement with the Burmese government, we've made this clear and we've made it a priority, and also multilaterally. We've been working with countries in the region, with the ASEAN governments, and as Mr. Andrews noted, it's a very interesting diplomatic situation because ASEAN and many other countries, including many of the OIC countries, as a general matter, they try not to criticize each other's internal affairs because they don't want their own internal affairs criticized. And so it's a difficult diplomatic challenge to get countries like Indonesia, like Malaysia, like Bangladesh, like the OIC members, the Gulf countries, to actually raise with the government of Burma the situation of the Rohingya and to make that a point of priority. And we've been very pleased that the OIC has made this a priority. The OIC Secretary General has appointed a special envoy, a former foreign minister from Malaysia, Mr. Albar, to personally engage in diplomacy on this issue, and he's been very successful in ensuring that the Indonesian and Malaysian governments during the migrant crisis did end up taking a lot of the Rohingya refugees who were fleeing the country into their country, and a number of OIC member states also, at the behest of the organization, did end up giving assistance to Indonesia and Malaysia to defray some of the costs, and we out of the State Department were encouraging and supporting those efforts for the OIC. And we also co-sponsored the resolution that Dr. Bakar Ali mentioned in the Human Rights Council that focused specifically on the situation of the Rohingya and other minorities in Burma who are facing this situation. And so we continue that effort. Fiscal year 2014, we've given over $109 million of humanitarian assistance in order to ensure that the Rohingyas who are living in camps, who've been displaced internally and who've also been displaced and are in other countries, are receiving the aid that is necessary for them to survive. So thank you again for your interest. Thank you again for all of your efforts and your advocacy, and we look forward to that continuing and continuing to work with you all. And I would like to thank again Dr. Bakar Ali for all of his efforts and the efforts of all of our other panelists for all of the work